Welcome to the Working Moms of San Antonio podcast. We're your hosts, Erica Radis and Marie Lifschultz, a realtor and lender here in San Antonio, but most importantly, we're working moms just like you.
This podcast is all about creating a space where we can come together, share stories, and learn from each other. We love connecting with local moms in business, hearing about their journeys and how they're balancing it all. Because let's be honest, it's not always easy, but it's so worth it.
Before we dive into today's episode, we're excited to share some big news with you all.
Our business community and co-working memberships are officially open. Whether you're looking for a supportive community of moms in business or need a beautiful space to work and grow, we've got just what you need here at Working Moms of San Antonio. You can visit the link in our show notes or workingmomsofsanantonio.com/membership for more info.
Now, on to today's episode. Grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get started.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Working Moms of San Antonio podcast. Today I have guest on Malika, and I'm going to turn it over to her to talk about herself and all things branding.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
My name is Malika Malhotra. I'm the brand CEO. I am a brand strategist and a mentor for female entrepreneurs. I like to call them the invisible experts. So they are good at what they do. They probably have an offer. They probably have an audience. But for some reason, they're overlooked, they're overwhelmed, and they're underpaid. And to me, that becomes more of a strategic issue that they are not really specializing or niching or really getting clear on their value and not able to communicate that to their audience.
Right.
So what I try to do is help them build that foundation so that they can become that go-to brand, right? The only and obvious choice in their industry. And there's no confusion about it. And hopefully, with their messaging, with their strategy, with their positioning, people are knocking on their door, opening up their wallets and saying, like, take my money, I need your services. That's what we hope for at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. Now, Malika, why do you feel like this particular demographic, I guess us, like why do you feel like we're overlooked and what do you think that's about?
Yeah, I think, women entrepreneurs, that's kind of my niche, are female entrepreneurs that have been in business for maybe 3 to 5 years. You have done all the things, right? And it's almost safe to be this Jane of all trades.
Right.
It almost feels like I can't be put into a box. I need to help everyone. And in the beginning, I think that works because it's all an experiment. We're all trying to figure out who we are, who we serve really well, what do we do that makes a difference, right? But there comes a point where you feel like it's not working anymore. There's too much competition, there's too much noise. And by positioning yourself as a more generic brand, a Jane of all trades, you're actually not allowing your audience to see what your worth is, to see how you stand out, to see what you are an expert in. And I'm of the position that why not put a stake in the ground and say, I own this category. I am an expert in this. I stand out because of this, instead of watering it down saying, I help all women.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
I don't know what you do. I don't know how to refer you. I don't know how to find you with any keywords. So instead, it's like giving context so that people can self-identify and see you as a solution to their problem. And honestly, by niching, by being more clear, that clarity part will allow them to connect with you faster, will allow them to trust you faster, and hopefully work with you faster.
Right. No, that makes sense. I bet a lot of your clients are like me where, well, I'm in real estate, and there are a lot of us. It's kind of a joke around the city. It's like, there are so many. It's like, no, I know. But initially in my career, I think it was hard for me. You're hungry, right? Like you want to do all the things. And so someone will be like, hey, can you do this? It's like, yeah, I could do that. Can you do this? Like, yeah, I can do that. And so do you find that your clients, they're afraid to sort of narrow themselves in that way because they're worried they're going to miss out on business?
100%.
Yeah.
They are afraid. They don't want to be put into a box. Often it's, I'm a multi-passionate. I am so good at all these different things. They worry that if they narrow, then the revenue won't be there, right? The paying customers won't be there. And I understand that. But the idea is that we're not niching and picking something out of the air. We are looking at data. We are looking at your revenue. Where's your money coming from?
Right.
Often when I go through this exercise with my clients, I'll say, look at your roster. Is there a pattern where most of them are in a certain industry? Most of them are in a certain season of business. Most of them had the same problem.
Yeah.
That's a way of niching, right? So now you get more specific in that group, and you're starting to segment it to smaller groups, right? And so we look a lot at, where's the money coming from? Who do you love to work with?
Right.
Right.
And that's so important as well.
100%, because it's going to be what makes your business sustainable, right? What are you naturally good at? And the things that you feel like an imposter, or you feel like, it was so hard, why are we still doing those things?
Yeah.
Someone else could do it better. Just refer. And the things that are in your zone of genius, people will know that. They will feel that. And there's this contagious energy of when you are in that lane that no one can take away from you.
Right.
So it always blows my mind when people are like, why wouldn't you want to?
Yeah.
Let's flip that. Let's reframe that. Why wouldn't you want to be doing what you're so good at, where the referrals are already coming from, where the bulk of your revenue is already there?
Yeah.
And go all in and grow that even faster.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you word it that way, no, you're right. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? I think, like I said, it's a little bit scary at first.
Yes.
I guess probably a lot of us have just really scraped and clawed to get to that 3 or 5 year mark where it's like, hey man, now we're a real business. You know what I mean? Like, we're really making money and this is okay. Like, what if I let one of these balls drop? What's going to happen? But to your point, I imagine it brings in the type of clients that you'd like to work with, which maybe brings all of our cortisol levels down just a little bit.
Yes. And why not flip it? Imagine it feeling empowering.
Right.
That I'm finally doing what I'm really good at. I have no mixed messaging. I am not working with multiple audiences, with multiple plates in the air.
Yeah.
One day I'm promoting this. The next day I'm talking to this different target. The next day I'm worried about this. It's very focused. It's very narrow. It's very easy and empowering and almost freeing, because now you have one message for one audience. Maybe you're solving one problem. You're promising one transformation. It's like the power of one. I talk about this a lot with my clients. And I'm not saying that you need to put yourself in a box. I call it like a bullseye. When I help my clients find their niche, I have like a bullseye brand formula. So you have a center of the bullseye, right? And so that's who you should be working with. But there are all these rings around the bullseye. And so some of your prospects might fall outside of your target. And then it becomes a choice. Do I have the capacity to do this? Do I like this person? Will this be an opportunity to maybe bring more business, right? Instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to create an offer for this audience, and then I'm going to create another offer for that audience. And they're totally separate audiences that have totally different messages. If you're a solopreneur, and I am, you are, many of us are, it is not sustainable to do that. It's exhausting. It takes a lot of money, takes a lot of energy, and you're just not good at doing all of the things.
Yeah.
If you have a team or an agency, it's kind of a different story. But this niching strategy, I think, works really best for solopreneurs, especially in 2026 when there's so much competition and it's so saturated. And with AI here, that's making it very easy to get a lot of stuff done without hiring people.
Right.
It's more reason to position yourself as an expert in a niche that's irreplaceable.
Yes. And now I guess, and I'm not super, super good at it, but I'm trying to learn. You can have these AI things really hone in on that message and speak to that almost, in between the lines a little bit as well. And I just think that's honestly, without AI, I couldn't be doing all the things. There's just no way.
It's your partner, right?
Yeah.
And your daily tasks.
Sometimes it's your boyfriend.
Yes.
Sometimes it's your therapist.
Yes. It's your admin, your therapist, your boyfriend. It's all the things. Yes. But I do think if you can ask AI the right questions and give it really detailed, personalized information about your business, your mission, your vision, your values, it will help you craft the foundation of your brand just as much as I can as a brand strategist when I'm
Right.
working one-on-one. But there is a responsibility with AI. Like you cannot just put in, bad information generates bad information, right? You
Yes.
have to put really intentional, strategic information in. You have to give it prompts that are smart, that have an objective. There's a goal attached to it, and parameters for it to give you good outputs. But then it's not a copy paste. It is a
Right.
guide to help you as you are building your brand, building your messaging, building your communications, your sales, all of those things. I don't think you can just take what it gives you and then use that because guess what? Everybody else is too.
Yeah. And then we all sound the same, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, and that is a problem. So I guess maybe you can walk through with our listeners kind of what it looks like to work with a brand strategist. We hear personal branding and we hear, I mean, there's
All
a
the
lot of
words.
things around branding, and there's the internet, and, there's all this different information. And so what does it look like to work with somebody that does what you do? And then maybe you can talk a little bit about just the steps to niching down, especially if you're sort of all over the place like some of us are.
Yeah. So, what is a brand? A brand is the impression that you make in your prospect or consumer's mind when you're not there, right? So when you hear a brand name like Coca-Cola or, Patagonia or, any of these, Tiffany's, there's an impression it makes. There's an emotion attached to it, right? Hopefully, if you're doing it right, you're creating an experience. And so the strategy behind creating the brand is figuring out, who you are, why you do this work, what do you believe in to give it the depth, right? Figuring out who you serve best, figuring out what is the problem that you are solving, what is the transformation that you're creating, and then how are you different? Those are just, a few of the many questions that I ask my clients when we're starting to explore the brand. And when you have those answers, what it gives you is almost this roadmap where it allows you then to build the layers of the brand that's going to create that depth and emotion and experience rather than saying, I am a fitness coach that works with women.
Yeah.
It could be, I've worked with a client who started that way and it ended up being, I'm a fitness coach who works with women over 40 who are in peri and menopause and have done all the things that used to work when we were 20, but don't work anymore, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then
it becomes more of a story.
It becomes a story.
Yeah.
And, and then her why is because she wants women to feel unstoppable, even at that stage of life when it feels like chaos and you're not in control anymore, right?
Yeah.
So it is creating a story behind the brand so that it's memorable, so that it sticks, so that it's referable, and so that the prospect or your audience feels seen.
Yeah.
And has a sense of belonging, right? Like even with your brand, with, your community, people feel that sense of belonging. You've created that intentionally.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. Yeah. When we do things here, I like people to feel warm and at home and casual because that's just the way that we are here. And I do find that people have said, that they relate to that and they enjoy that. And so, yes, we do try to do those things, I think, for the most part.
It shows the difference, like your brand versus a BNI. Not one is better than the other, but there's a certain feeling, right? A certain personality that attracts a certain person.
Right.
And so yours feels very different than a BNI, right? Where it's more transactional.
Sure.
Versus warm, welcoming, nurturing community vibe.
Right.
I've been on your website. People are bringing their children.
Yes.
That would never happen at a BNI meeting.
No, I suppose not. Yeah.
So even how polarizing those two are is actually such a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then people can say, I don't want to bring my kid. I don't want to be around kids. Well, guess what? It's not for you. And that's great.
Yeah. That's right.
That's great. There are other options for you. Because sometimes people will say, like, I don't want to be, like so distinct because then what about this person or that person? And I kind of think like, why do we want to help everybody? I think it's the woman and the mothers in us.
It
right?
is.
It's
yes.
delegate. refer. There are other people that are good at those things.
Right.
Stay in your lane, cultivate that lane, grow that lane, be really well known for that lane so that when you're not in the room, everybody knows that you own that lane and they are building your business for you when you're not even there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that makes total sense. Do you feel like a lot of your business is doing a little bit of hand holding as we kind of go through the,
Yes.
my business is also that, but in a very different way. But I mean, sometimes I feel like, a lot of women in business, we are a little bit of a therapist and a little bit of this and a little bit of this, as we do hand holding. So
there's a lot of hand holding and there's also a lot of reassurance.
Yes.
But what I love most about being a brand strategist, because it's really about helping my clients have that clarity. And once they have that clarity, it's a shift into confidence. And it's all muddled in the beginning, right? It's like very confusing and they're looking at what the competitors are doing and they want to kind of be like that, but they know they have their own story, but they don't know what's important in their story. So they have this kitchen sink story that talks about all the things. And so when we start cleaning those up and we start really curating what the story is based on their essence, their personality, their skill set, their mission, their vision, like all the things, and I can show them this is where you are versus everyone else, and this is where the opportunity is, and this is how we can keep pulling you apart so that no one else can say what you're saying. It's almost like this aha moment where then they're like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Whereas I can kind of see it, but they just haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're doing what you're doing. Do you advise people look at their competition, like to see what's going on and that kind of thing?
But don't get obsessed.
Yeah.
I mean, just strategically, we kind of have to know what is a prospect. Who are they looking at also?
Yeah.
Right? Where is there overlap between me and maybe 2 or 3 other competitors? But I don't think you need to look more than that. And then when you see those 2 and 3, and AI can help you with this, you can drop their website, you can drop all the information about those other competitors and ask AI, these are my competitors. You know all about me. Help me map the 4 of us out to identify where's their overlap, where are they doing something different than I am, where's their opportunity, where should we not be going into because there's too much noise in that area. But you kind of have to know because then you might want to fine tune some of your messaging to pull you apart from them.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
So, but definitely don't go into the black hole of, and we all have done it. We're all guilty of this. I'm scrolling in, middle of the night and being like, this brand strategist has all of her stuff together. Right. And, but we just kind of have to put those barriers up and just look at it strategically, kind of like as a map. This is where they are. This is where I am. And this is kind of the direction that I should continue to push forward in.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think? Now there's the Instagram and there's the Facebook and the TikToks and the YouTubes and then like email marketing and like all the things. If somebody is relatively new, I know your clients are maybe sometimes a little bit further along, but what do you recommend people work on maybe either first or because it is so hard to do all of that, especially in the beginning.
So what I would say is, where are your clients? What are they consuming? Like if they're not on TikTok, don't worry about TikTok.
Yeah.
If they're not, on Threads, take it off. Why do it? Why waste your time? Where are they? What are they consuming? And then go on those platforms and pick 2. Start with 2 because it's a sustainability game, right? Like you have to pick 2 and you have to like those platforms because if you don't, you're not going to be able to be consistent. And if you're not consistent, then it's a wasted effort, right? So I always say start small, pick the 2 that your ideal, and this is where you have to know your ideal client, right? What are they consuming? Where are they? Where are they getting information? Where are they getting referrals from? So once you pick those platforms, then go all in on those platforms and then see how that makes a difference in your business. Maybe it's not social media. Yeah. Maybe it's networking and speaking.
Right.
Maybe it's email and networking. Who knows? What works for someone else might not work for you. Right. So I think it's a combination of, again, seeing where your ideal client is and also where you love to be or what you like to do. It's a good match with your skill set. because if it's not a good match, you're going to get drained, you're going to get overwhelmed, and then you're going to stop.
Yeah. No, I love that you brought that up. And it's funny. Like everybody's talking about the LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's so important. I understand. I hate LinkedIn. I hate it. Like, it is so boring. And it is, all of that. And so my LinkedIn is terrible. But you hear, like, again, there's all this noise out there that's like, now you got to be on the LinkedIn because of, X, Y, Z. And I'm like, oh gosh, you just can't make me do it. And so mine is not good. But I like that the advice that you've now given me is maybe that's okay. Maybe I don't have to be on the LinkedIn if I don't want to be.
Or maybe you have to delegate it. If your clients are on there, but it doesn't fit kind of like your heart, it's not fulfilling
so boring.
you, then maybe you need to delegate it. Or maybe you have to reframe it of like, why is it so boring? Or is there an expectation of like, you think a certain content needs to be on it? And maybe you rock the boat and you do what you want on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that helps you stand out even more because most people are expecting the articles and the more professional content. But if you're, doing your own thing and bringing it there, that might be the best thing you could ever do.
Huh. How interesting. I never thought of that. Yeah. I mean, for me, I guess it's just because it is so very professional. Not that I'm not professional, but it's just, it is a lot of articles and like a lot of blazers and, and all of that.
But I think it could be exactly what maybe your audience needs. It's like something different.
Yeah.
Something refreshing. Wow, she's not in a blazer and a suit and she's like, on the beach with her kids and talking to me about business.
Yeah. True. Yeah, you never know. But yeah,
it's worth
I think
trying.
For sure. But I like that point that you should stick to the things that, you like, because otherwise you'll burn yourself out.
Yes.
And we're already also burnt out.
And that goes back to also with niching, right? So you had asked me like, how do people find their niche? And a lot of that is, what are you passionate about in your business?
Right.
What can you do every morning? Like you wake up and you're springing out of bed and you're like so excited to do it, or the work that you like look up and you're like, oh my God, I've been doing this for 2 hours. I had no idea I was doing this. Right.
Yeah.
And then the things that feel like you want to, shoot yourself, pay attention to that too, because that's not helping your business.
Right.
You want to like really delegate those out or see how you can maybe remove those from your business. But you want to look at specialize. That's one of the core elements. Like, how can you become an expert? What are you known for already? And sometimes that means asking your audience, asking your peers, asking your community. And hopefully you're not surprised that someone might say, like, if someone said, oh, Malik, if they didn't say brand strategy or niche strategy, I'd be shocked. If they said like podcasting, I'd be like, what does that even mean? That's not what I do, right?
Yeah.
So, to kind of get that honest truth of what people are saying you're an expert in. And so you kind of want to cultivate that, what you are a specialist in. You want that to be known. You want it to be communicated in your elevator pitch, to your blog post, on your website. And then you also want to get clear on your audience. We talked about this. How specific can you be? It doesn't help when you are very broad and you say, I help male CEOs. Okay, it's a little niche, but like, tell me more, right? Mm-hmm. Is it male CEOs who've been, in business for 2 decades and are ready to exit and retire, but looking for a new side hustle? Oh, okay, now that paints a picture, so I know more specifically of who that person is. So that's the next layer. The third is, for your niche, how do you stand out? Are there things that make you different than others? And this is the hardest question.
I was going to say, I feel like that is what people struggle with, because I know it would me. Like I said, I mean, what I do is pretty cut and dry. You know what I mean? It's like, I help people buy a house. I help people sell a house. Those are the things I do, And so it's like, what does make me different? And I know we've had many conversations with many of the gals here in the Working Moms and all of that. And so I think it's hard to think outside of what you do.
Right.
So I imagine that probably is the hardest.
Yeah, but it could be personality. You talked a lot about that, right? Like, you're not in a suit and it's more casual or more accessible or more warm and welcoming and nurturing. And there's a vibe there. So sometimes the vibe could be your standout. Maybe your standout is for you. For what I see, just, top line is, you're a realtor, but you also have a community.
Yeah.
How many other realtors have that? You stand out because you've cultivated this robust, vibrant community because that's what you're passionate about, is bringing working moms together.
Yeah.
So not every realtor has that. And
Yeah.
you have this space and you have this podcast. So you have like all of these other layers that make you different. So sometimes we just can't see it because we're so close to it. But that's where, a brand strategist or someone in your peer group can kind of remind you of like, listen, not everybody's doing this. You are really doing something different. And then the last piece is how you solve the problem. Maybe if you're a web designer, maybe you solve and you do a website in a week, right? So it's like a time thing. Maybe it's you're a website designer, but you only do WordPress. So now you're niching because of the technology behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are all these different ways to get more narrow instead of just saying, I'm a web designer. You could be like, I'm a web designer that specializes in maybe it's an aesthetic, like a bold, beautiful, eye-catching websites that are dynamic with video and motion, right? For speakers, because they need that, right? And I do websites in a week. So now all of a sudden, it's not just I'm a website designer. We know that they specialize in this bold, dynamic, motion-oriented website. We know that they really work well with speakers because speakers have speaking reels and they need that, right? And then they do it in a week. So if someone is a speaker, they're going to be more likely to hire that person than go to someone who just said, I just do websites.
Right, of course.
So just as an example of how that niching can really help you cut through the noise and get someone to say yes more quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes we forget that there are just so many people out in this world.
Yes.
And so it's okay to feel like you're talking to a specific group because that group may turn out to be fairly large as well, you know?
And it most likely is. I mean, with the digital world right now, it doesn't mean you have to work only in your geographical area, right? Like I have clients all over the world because I can work virtually. Obviously, if you're a realtor, you're in a certain area.
Well, yes.
But there are other ways to scale. Like you could teach about real estate and selling. And that means that you could be teaching people from all over the world. So there's different ways to scale your business. And so I think niching doesn't mean that it's almost putting a spotlight versus thinking of it as like putting yourself in a box. Instead, you're putting a spotlight on what you do really well so that more people can see you.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I want to talk about personal branding a little bit. I know that personal branding is a big thing right now, especially with so many people, I believe, like leaving corporate type jobs and that kind of stuff. But a lot of the gals here will often say, like, how much personal do I share in my business brand? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I kind of I am a believer of we need to put personal into the brand, right? But we also have to understand our ideal client and what they want to know about us personally.
Right.
So there's a lens there, right? It's not just saying, I'm going to speak about politics and religion and
yeah.
family. No, like through the eyes of my ideal client, and again, we should all know who that person is really, really well. What do they want to know about me? Maybe they want to know what my hobbies are. Maybe there's a bridge that they're also moms, so I need to talk about my family and what we do when we're on vacation, right? Maybe they are lifelong learners, and I'm going to talk about what I'm reading, what kind of books I'm reading, or what webinars I'm listening to, what podcasts I'm listening to. That's all personal information, right? And what that does is it allows you to build that know, like, and trust factor. And so instead of it being a transactional relationship where I'm buying from an expert, it becomes something deeper. And it becomes like, I know this person because she's shared some information that's relevant to me, the prospect, the audience. And now I feel like I can trust her. Now I feel like, if I'm going to hire a copywriter, I know that relationship isn't one and done in a few hours. It's a long relationship, right? It's going to be a couple of weeks. And so I want to make sure I feel comfortable. I want to make sure that I can relate to her.
Right.
And so that's where that personal information comes in. So yes, I do think you can share the personal, but I think you have to think about what personal stories that your ideal client wants to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's tough. Nowadays you don't want to share too much.
Right.
But I agree with you. I mean, I think you've got to, it's what makes us people, it's what makes us know that it's not just a robot or something behind the communication.
And it should be like 70-30 or 60-40, right? Where it's not transactional and robotic. There's a real human behind the brand, right? Yeah. And it could be the personal is, how did I start this business?
Right.
What's the blood, sweat, and tears that went into this business? What's my mission and my big why I wake up every morning for this business? What is the vision that I see? Why do I do this work? What's that like future vision that I see for all these women that I'm working with? That's personal.
Yes.
But it's part of the business.
Right.
And so
still relevant.
Still relevant. So when you're sharing that personal stories, it almost allows your audience to feel a part of something bigger too.
Yeah.
And that's what we all want, right? We want, of course, to get the problem solved, the transaction done. We want to buy the product, we want to service, but we also want to be part of something bigger. And I think that personal side, that personal brand that you're building, that reputation that you're building has to be built not only on your skill set, not only on your expertise, but also on your human side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know I feel more connected with brands when I see a little bit of personality in there.
Yeah, look at Spanx, right? Spanx brand, but then we know the founder, she's goofy, she's funny. You kind of have, you feel a connection, and then you feel a stronger connection to the brand because of her, right? So there's a lot of instances where, even I always say like Peloton, right? Peloton has all the classes, but we all have our favorite instructor.
Right. Yes.
And that's a personal brand.
That's so true.
Right. And so it brings us back to Peloton, if it's a meditation, if it's a ride with Cody, like we all know, because that's their personal brand that's attached and part of the umbrella brand.
Yeah, definitely. Well, towards the end of our interview, sometimes we ask people if they have anything new or exciting going on. Do you have anything to share with our listeners about stuff you've got going on?
Yeah, so I am working on a new AI product.
Okay.
I've really dove deep into AI and how to build tools for my audience that make brand strategy more accessible and more affordable, because not anyone can hire brand strategists, right? Because there's investment in time and investment in money. And so because I have all of these proven frameworks that I use with my one-on-one clients, what I've tried to do is to create products using AI that helps you get a similar experience, but AI powered. And so I have a new product called the Bullseye Brand Report coming out in the fall of 2026, which will ask 10 questions, kind of like the questions that I shared that I go through with my clients that are on brand strategy.
Yeah.
And when you answer them, AI takes your personal answers that are, customized to you and puts it through my frameworks and generates this very beautiful, robust report that gives you the clarity of things like your ideal client, what's keeping them up at 2 a.m., what is the problem that you're solving, what's the promise that you're offering, what's the transformation, things that are very hard to articulate, right? That the normal person who's just trying to run their business but doesn't have that strategic, critical mind for brand strategy, it's hard for them.
Sure.
It's going to give you your elevator pitch. It's going to give you, content pillars that your brand can start speaking about. All of these different things that make the language of your brand much easier to sell, to communicate, and to share to hopefully grow your brand faster.
Yeah.
So pretty excited about it. That's going to be coming out in the fall. And, once you answer those questions within like that same day, you'll get this report in your inbox.
Yeah.
The power of AI. AI gives you the speed. AI helps you with the customization. I'm definitely like a dinosaur in this whole tech thing, but I have developers that are helping me create this. So
I love that.
It's fun, but it's also like very uncomfortable.
Yes. Well, the best things are.
yes. But I'm excited about it. I've been working, I've seen the final product, and I just think it's going to be really helpful for, people that are just starting or people that are rebranding or someone that's bringing, let's say, a web designer on their team or a VA, but they need to share the core of the brand, right? So now you have this report that you can share with your team, that you can use and put into your own chat or Claude that's going to know your brand in order to create better outputs.
Yes. Honestly, I feel like that's such a game changer. Like that would have been huge when I was even starting this. We had to go through so many different trials and tribulations, as you do when you're first starting, about what we wanted the brand to look like. And I couldn't pay for a brand, brand person. And so if this is something that can help like the early goers kind of really hone in their marketing, I mean, I think that's just huge.
Yeah. And that's what I'm hoping for, because it's, you have a good idea, you have a good brand and business. Sometimes you don't have the language to communicate, right? You're saying too much, you're saying too little, you're saying the wrong things. So hopefully this will give people that clarity, which will lead to the confidence that will lead to conversions.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And then lastly, will you share with our listeners how they can get a hold of you?
Yes. So my website is thebrandceo.com. I'm also at thebrandceo on Instagram, which I love. So I love to connect with you there. Ask me a question in my DMs. I'm always happy to answer. And you can find out, news about the Bullseye brand report coming soon, all on those platforms as well.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, we will put all that in the show notes too. So that way you're just a click away. But thank you so much for being on. This was so great.
Yes. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Of course. And thank you to our listeners for tuning into this week's episode. And we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Working Moms of San Antonio podcast. We hope you loved today's chat and found a little inspiration to take with you into your week. If you have a podcast topic suggestion or a question you'd love for us to cover, definitely send us an email at hello@workingmomsofsanantonio.com. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, see you in the community.